When somebody first mentioned going for a walk for bipolar disorder, I thought, what is this new age garbage? Like, I live with a serious and persistent mental illness. Going for a walk is not going to do anything. But I got to tell you, I was wrong. Look, I'm not saying that it cures bipolar disorder, but I can say that it helps manage my moods. It helps with depression. It helps with anxiety. It helps with sleep, which of course absolutely impacts bipolar disorder. I ignored it at first, and I think I ignored it to my own peril. It seems so simple, but going for a walk has unequivocally helped me manage bipolar disorder.
You're listening to Inside Bipolar, a Healthline Media podcast, where we tackle bipolar disorder using real-world examples and the latest research.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Gabe Howard, and I live with bipolar disorder.
And I'm Dr. Nicole Washington, a board-certified psychiatrist.
And today we're going to be talking about Gabe and Dr. Nicole's absolute favorite subject in the entire world, and then somehow tie it together with bipolar disorder, and that's exercise. Now, what people may not know is that Dr. Nicole is a marathon runner. She completed a marathon in every state, and usually when she's done with the marathon, she just runs it again, because she can usually complete a 26.4 mile marathon. I don't even know that's not even right, is it? It's not even 26.4.
I don't know, because I don't run unless something is chasing me that I can't fight. Like, that's the only way I'm running. I have no clue.
But here's the thing, right? Exercise is actually really important to the management of bipolar disorder. So I've learned doing this show and from fine folks like Dr. Nicole that there are three pillars of bipolar mood stability. There's therapy and medication. Everybody knows those, right? But there's this insidious third, right? And we do talk about it sometimes. And that third is lifestyle management. Now, what always comes up in the lifestyle management is like picking your support team, watching your sleep, even eating healthy comes up. But exercise has not really been mentioned on this show very often, and it's very important. So today it gets an entire episode.
I am thrilled in the most painful way possible, Gabe. You know, I hate working out. I really hate exercising, but it is something I talk to my patients about a lot, which, as you can see, puts me in a bit of a pickle because I really don't enjoy it, but I do understand the value of it.
Is this a do as I say and not as I do moment?
Well,
Are you telling me that doctors are hypocrites and recommend that people do things that they themselves don't do?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, I am telling you that. Like, absolutely. No, I am absolutely telling you that there are a ton of doctors in the world who do not live by the advice that they give 100%. In my case, I do exercise, and I do exercise multiple days a week, but only because I focus on the end game, the value. I focus on the why. Because if I focused on just the love of working out, I would be in my bed. I would absolutely not get up early to exercise.
Recently, we did an episode on my bipolar mood relapse. I had a bout of depression that lasted several months and still lingers a little bit to this day. They have a long tail, and I did a lot of things to help get through that. And obviously, therapy and medication were two big ones. But one of the things that came out of that is I started walking. I started paying attention to exercise, and I learned a lot about the benefits of exercise with bipolar disorder. But the number one thing that I learned is that it doesn't take much. I was really surprised at how little I had to do to get back big benefits. So I want to kind of start there, because I think when people hear exercise, right, they're thinking, join a gym, bulk up, press weights, spend a lot of money, get exercise clothes. And I was able to achieve some pretty stellar results for a 20 to 30 minute brisk walk once a day. And I was really shocked by that. I was really shocked.
How difficult was it for you to even adopt the advice? So when your doctor said, "Hey, Gabe, I want you to start," I don't know, what did they tell you? Did they tell you work out 5 days a week, or like what did they tell you to do?
So my doctor tricked me. So he tricked me. That's the first thing that I want to say. He just flat out tricked me. So I'm in the middle of this depressive episode. We've been rearranging my pills. We've been doing all of these things. We've been monitoring my sleep, etc. And he says, Gabe, if I told you that I had a pill and this pill will lower your heart attack risk, lower your cholesterol, a preventative for diabetes. It will increase your life, boost your energy, and boost your mood. Would you take it? And I was like, oh my God, yes, yes. Now you're
You
talking.
you fell right into the hole that he dug. He was
I
just digging
did.
a
I
little
did.
hole.
I was
Okay.
super excited. And I want to be honest, I did not even see it coming. I did not realize that he was about to pull the rug out from underneath me. And he goes, great. It's a 20-minute brisk walk a day. I said, say what now? He said, you just have to take a 20-minute brisk walk every day. I was like, what? Wait. No, you told me there was a pill. He goes, well, in this case, the pill is a 20-minute brisk walk. And I was like, I don't understand what you're saying to me. And he goes, look, Gabe, the research is very clear. You don't have to walk long. A 20-minute brisk walk outside once a day or on a treadmill, right, at a moderate to brisk pace, that's all you need. That's it. You will see results from that. And I'm like, you're a liar. I'll be honest. I thought this is another doctor overselling something. He's tricking me.
Yeah.
This is, I just thought it was kind of one of those things where, like, every time you do something fun, a doctor tells you how it's going to kill you. It's like, hey, I'm in a normal weight. My labs are all normal, but I eat a Twinkie every day. Well, you should stop that. It's going to kill you. Look, I told you I'm in a normal weight. What are you doing? Or what's the other one that doctors get hit on all the time? It's like, hey, I feel great and I'm happy. Well, it says here you're overweight. Well, fine. Just body shaming me at my physical. Right. So I sort of felt like it was like that. Like he's just grasping at straws, telling me to do nonsense.
Wow. Nonsense. Taking a 20-minute walk a day felt like nonsense as he was telling you that this is what he recommends for you.
I am being as honest, direct, and transparent as I can. It felt like a scam. It really did. It felt like a scam. And
So then why do it?
because that's how desperate I was.
Okay.
This is how desperate I was, Dr. Nicole. I was like, I got nothing else. I got nothing else. So let's talk about some magic,
Okay.
right? Let's talk about a little bit of magic that happened.
Okay.
So the first thing is that I thought to myself, I really couldn't determine between brisk and moderate, right? I didn't understand. I am 6'3". At the time, I weighed 230 pounds, and I was having trouble getting a handle on what a brisk or moderate walk was.
Mhm.
Right. So that was the first thing, right? Because all of this is studied on people who are shorter than me, younger than me. It's based on the average, height and weight of, I think, 5'5" and 180 pounds. Right. So I decided to make it a half an hour just because I wanted to give this a fair shot.
Okay.
So every day I would go out for a 30-minute walk and I would do it outside and I would just do it in my neighborhood. And when I first got started, I didn't even have special clothes or shoes. Like I'm literally in my Doc Martens and like an old pair of jeans. And
Okay. Were you out there in Doc Martens walking for 30 minutes?
I was,
Like enough to get your heart rate up?
yeah, I was doing the thing in my Doc Martens.
Okay. Well, there you go.
I was styling.
There you
I,
go.
I, I was styling. I was rocking. Right?
Okay.
I was rocking. And I got to tell you, at first it was really hard. It
Yeah.
was really, 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 really hard, and my feet hurt. And there were things that I did not like about this. I did not like about this at all. It was in the summer, so I was really sweaty. We had these 90-degree days,
Mhm.
and then I'm a redhead and I burn really, really easy. When people talk about their vacations, if they go someplace sunny, I get a sunburn just on the word sun alone. So I had to start slathering stuff on my face. And then after a few weeks, they talked me into buying a hiking hat. Have you seen this hiking hat? Looks like you're in the
No.
Panama Canal.
What is it?
It's ugly. It's ugly. That's the first thing that it is. But it's got a flap on the back to cover the back of your neck, and it's got a real wide brim, so it casts a shadow over your ears and most of your face, etc. So it blocks the sun.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
is what it does. It's a hiking hat.
Okay.
And it's only like $20 because nobody would pay for this. I just, it's terrible, but it works. It works. So now I've got a stupid hat. So now I've invested $20. And my wife is like, hey, do you remember like 10 years ago when you joined a gym? And I was like, oh, I do remember that. Remember I went like twice. It was like a New Year's resolution. She's like, yeah, well, you remember you bought shoes. So I
Oh,
found these shoes that were like 10 years old,
but brand new.
but pretty much brand new. Yeah.
Brand
Yeah.
new.
They were Velcro and they were white.
Wow.
So now
Wow.
I'm wearing Velcro white shoes
And your hat.
and the hat. And I looked stupid.
But you were doing it.
But I was doing it, and I found a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt at this point, right? So I looked slightly less stupid, but I'm
Okay.
still just basically walking in my neighborhood. Within the first 30 days of doing this, and I made a goal I was going to do it every day for 30 days, right? Like I decided that I would try to figure out, if I was going to take weekends off or anything like that at some future point. I wanted 30 for 30. Right. And I
Okay.
modeled that after the recovery support group method, where you go to like 30 support groups in 30 days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
and this is how you build habits and things like
Yeah.
that. So within the first 30 days, here are some things that came to light. My energy did go up. I lost some weight, and I felt like I accomplished something. I felt a goal, and it did provide a boost. It did not cure depression. It did not magically make me better. I didn't start taking less medicine, nothing like that. But here are some surprising things that I learned, right? And these were amazing to me. First, I didn't tell anybody. Like I wasn't dumb. I didn't tell anybody because as soon as I failed at this, I didn't want anybody to know. The only person who knew I was doing this was my wife. She was the only one. And after a couple of weeks, she started coming with me. She was like, I'll go for a walk with you. I was like, well, that's nice. Right.
Yeah.
The next thing I learned is that there's just all kinds of music that I had just kind of missed out on because I don't really listen to music. I'm not one of these people who works and has background music. So I started discovering all of these playlists of bands that I really hadn't heard in a long time. And it was kind of nice. It was nice to revisit them, especially for somebody who likes music and concerts as much as I do.
Okay.
The next thing that I learned was something called, and apparently the healthy people have been doing this for a long time, the walk and talk. It's where you put in your earbuds and you call somebody on the phone, and while you're wandering around the neighborhood, you're chatting with people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing. Did you know it was a thing?
Oh, absolutely. Every time I go for a walk in my neighborhood, I call my mom or I call, somebody that I haven't had the time to just sit down and have a 30-minute conversation with. Now, it gets a little tricky when you're really getting that heart rate up or I hit a heel and I'm like, hold on. I might not say something for a minute. I need to catch my breath. But it does give you, I mean, you're a captive audience for that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do with your brain? What else are you doing with your brain for that 30 minutes you're walking?
I've been catching up with all kinds of people. I have friends in California. I have little influencer friends all over the place who I exchange a lot of texts and emails with, but we never really talk on the phone
Can
because
I
we're
just
all
say,
busy.
little influencer friends? That's pretty cute.
My little
My little
influencer friends.
influencer friends. I love that for you.
I call them little influencer friends because they are younger than me. They're actually larger than me. It's I say little and they're like, oh, because Gabe has a big audience and they have a smaller one. No, they are one of my quote unquote little influencer friends. Even though he's 20 years younger than I am, he has like 1.8 million followers.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so because they're younger. See, in my world, when someone puts little in front of something, it's usually like it's like low key condescending. So, like if my mom says, "Oh, are you going to go record your little podcast?" It's usually like, "Oh," or "Oh, how was your little meeting? How was your little meeting?"
Wait, your mom calls our podcast little? Oh, she just made the naughty list.
My mom calls all kind of stuff little. She'll say, "Oh, you went and did your little talk." Oh, you went and did your like when she puts little in front of something and she doesn't even realize. It's like in the South, like the auntie, like all the like when somebody's like, "Oh, you're little this or you're little that," it's condescending.
Yeah.
So okay, so your little your young
My young
influencer friend. So you've been catching up. This has been a good
I've been
thing.
catching up with, and this is a real benefit because I never really talked to them on the phone before. I mean, we
Yeah.
have a lot in common. We're excited to talk to one another. That has been really, really nice. But there's been some other things. I finally hit the holidays, and not the holiday that you think. You're thinking, oh, he's going to say he saw Christmas lights. No, you always see Christmas lights because they're everywhere and you're expecting them. I saw Halloween decorations. See, Halloween decorations, they're not as obvious,
They are. They're a little more subtle.
right? They
Yeah.
don't light up, they're not as big, they're more subtle. I walked past all of these people that had like tombstones in their yard, but they had like funny sayings on them that you can't see when you drive by.
Oh, okay.
It was nice. And then I started walking past people, and after I started, hitting month, 3, 4, 5, right? You start walking past some of the same people and they wave. And we give each other this little look like, hey, I don't want to die either. Me neither. I'm being forced into this by my spouse. I too am being forced into this by my doctor. But it's nice,
Yeah.
right? We're just like waving at each other. I'm not trying to like blow smoke and say that this has changed my life in monumental ways. It hasn't, but it's changed my wife in slight ways, and slight good, positive, undeniably satisfying ways.
But it has changed your life. You know what I heard as you were telling that story? I heard two things. One, you started. So a lot of times when I say, hey, I think adding some physical activity to your day would be great for you and your mood control, might help with your sleep at night, might help with your anxiety. And people come up with every reason in the world why they can't start. I don't have shoes. I don't have a gym membership. I don't have, like, you just took off walking. You and your jeans and your Doc Martens. And somebody probably passed by you and was like, why is that guy walking so fast in jeans and Doc Martens?
He probably thought, what relationship did he just escape?
Right,
What house
right.
party did he just leave where he got in a fight, probably over politics?
That guy,
I just,
what's going on with that guy?
yeah.
But you
Yeah,
started.
what HOA meeting was he at that he's like, nah, no, I ain't voting for that. I'm out of here. Screw these people. I'm going home.
But you started, right? Like, so to me,
Yes.
that's even a win. You started. You did not let all of the, but I don't have this, I don't have that, this is why I can't, blah, 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 blah. You just started. So
Yeah.
that's what I heard. And I think that's amazing.
I did just start.
You
That's the number
did.
one thing. It cost me no money. And because I left from my house, and I do live in a neighborhood where I can walk, it
Yes.
didn't even take like the drive to and from. I
Yeah.
didn't have to join a gym. I just walked. Hard stop. That's it. I just walked. But it gets better from here.
And anybody can walk, right? I mean, unless you have mobility issues or some physical reason that you can't, most of us are able to just walk.
Yeah.
I mean, and if your neighborhood is safe enough, and we realize that some people don't live in neighborhoods with sidewalks and the ability to walk, and if so, we're not telling you to go for a walk. We understand that is a barrier for some people, but the majority of folks listening to this podcast probably can go for a walk and can do so without any preparation. You just
Yeah.
open a door and
Yeah.
you just go outside and walk. And Gabe did 30 minutes, but it doesn't have to be 30. If the most you can do in the beginning is 10, that's okay too.
Oh yeah, build up. So I am now up to an hour and 15 minutes. And so I want to let people know I grew it out. I now take about an hour and
Wow.
15-minute walk a
So
day.
you went from 30
Yep.
to an hour and 15. Well, that's what I mean. So if
Yep.
you can only do 10, start with 10. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
eventually you'll get to
absolutely.
15. And eventually you'll get to 20. And then you'll get to 30. I mean, Gabe's up to an hour and 15 minutes a day.
It takes me about an hour and 15 minutes. What I like is the 10,000 steps a day. I got to the 10,000 steps because I really saw the benefits, right? And some of the benefits are strengthen bone and muscles, improve your muscle endurance, increase your energy levels. It improves your mood, cognition, memory, and sleep. These are medical facts per the Mayo Clinic. Forget
Yep.
about bipolar disorder for a moment. This benefits everybody. But
Everybody.
let's talk about mood, cognition, memory, and sleep for people with bipolar disorder. Those are biggies.
Yeah.
So I do think that we need to take a moment when we talk about feeling physically better. Overall, that has nothing to do with bipolar disorder, but it drives bipolar disorder in a very significant and meaningful way. And I saw this on my 30-minute walk, and the data shows that you can get this in a 20-minute walk at a brisk pace. That's the exact quote. A 20-minute brisk paced walk a day will get
Yeah.
you all of these benefits. It's amazing.
But don't get all hung up on like what is brisk? What is brisk? Okay, I don't know what that means. Like don't overthink it.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't
don't.
overthink it. And that was also something I grabbed from your story. You didn't overthink it. You weren't so concrete with it that you never got started.
I mean, I
You
overthought it a little bit.
I know you were like brisk versus moderate, but it didn't stop you.
Yep, yep. Not telling anybody. I hid it from people, right?
That's okay.
But Lisa Kiner, she's the producer and editor of this podcast. She does a lot of work. The show that you are listening to now, we owe that to Lisa. She constantly says things like, "Don't let perfection get in the way of progress."
Yeah.
There was a time that I wouldn't have gone for even walk number one until I spent just a shitload of money. I just want to be
Yep.
honest. I would have bought the best shoes, the best walking outfit. I would have joined the most expensive gym. I would have come up with the most convoluted plan. I would have started doing research on how fast I should walk exactly. But I didn't. I just started. And then as I hit certain benchmarks, I know it sounds funny that I rewarded myself with better equipment, but listen, I'm not walking in Doc Martens anymore, and I'm not walking in those shitty shoes anymore either. I now have a nice pair of expensive walking shoes, but I can justify that expense now because I'm walking an hour and 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So it was smart to buy the right equipment. I mean, I've added little things along the way as I have gotten more into it.
And we're back discussing getting started with an exercise plan with bipolar disorder.
And I also have discovered additional places to walk, which has kind of been fun. I've explored the local parks. I've driven an hour away from home and explored hiking trails that I don't get to very often. And I've done a lot of this stuff with my wife. I also found some other connections that I wouldn't have found if I didn't go on these walks. And one of the connections was to my grandfather. My grandfather was a big walker. My grandfather passed away at 91. So he walked for at least an hour a day, every day of his life. He just loved walking. Well, this makes me kind of feel connected to him. I think about him a lot that he would be proud of this. And in fact, the shoes that I bought were the same brand of shoes that he used. And I have no idea if these are the best shoes for me. I just kind of like I kind of like the connection. Sometimes when I'm walking, anxiety is a thing for me. Racing thoughts is a thing for me. But for some reason, when I'm walking, there's kind of enough distractions that sometimes some of these things that I need to noodle in my head, they just seem to noodle better. Not like when I'm alone in my bedroom and it's dark and it's quiet and I'm listening to the white noise machine and I'm listening to my wife breathe and I'm like, uh-oh, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. It doesn't, I don't know. It just, maybe it's because I'm walking. Maybe it's because I've got a heightened sense of awareness because I'm always looking out for cars or people or not tripping, things like that, that it just allows me to focus a little more. And I've really worked out some things.
Yeah, I really love that you and your wife do it together sometimes because think about how busy we get with work and then there's just life stuff. This needs to be done, laundry, cleaning, all the things. How often do you just have an hour and 15 minutes that you and your spouse just kind of sit down together and talk where you're not sitting down together, but you have each other's undivided attention for an hour and 15 minutes?
I cannot deny that it has been nice to spend time with Kendall in this manner. It has been nice to spend time with my other friends. I've coaxed other people into going into walks with me.
Oh, that's
And, and
good.
and as soon as I started to be a little more public about it, when I was proud of it and I started posting like my app scores, this is my longest walk ever, this is my fastest speed ever, and then I started like finding other people who use the app and walk, and they would give me like hints and tips.
Gabe, I do like the idea of a buddy, and a buddy who's at your level. You're not going to invite your marathon running buddy to go for a 30-minute walk with you, but it is a good way to kind of bring somebody else in. I mean, in this instance, you probably are becoming a positive influence on your circle in a way that you never thought that this would allow you to do.
Okay, don't start saying that I'm a positive influence.
You
I just
are. You are.
I don't want to
It's
say that. I don't want to say
inspirational.
that.
You are Gabe, you are an inspiration to those around you. It
Aw,
is.
that's sweet. There's if you're still listening at this point and you're still on the fence, I have a couple of things that I want to bring up, just some myths that I want to bust real quick. And I'm
Okay.
just going to kind of do it rapid style, Dr.
Okay.
Nicole. And I want you to vouch for me as a doctor. So
Got
remember,
it.
this isn't Gabe Howard saying it. Dr. Nicole will correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really believed was that in order to have any benefits from exercise, you had to be like stupid sweaty. All of your muscles had to be sore. You had to be gasping for air. And I'm really surprised that I have seen all of these results, including a 25-pound weight loss over the last 9 months, just really from walking and watching my eating. You lose weight by reducing calories or burning more calories than you take in. So when I
Yeah.
started walking, I didn't increase my eating. And I noticed that certain things made it harder to walk. If the night before I had a big heavy meal, when I tried to walk the next day, I felt kind of bad. So I did change my eating in some small ways, cut out 90% of the sugar, 90% of the fried foods. I tend to get broccoli over French fries now when I go out. Little things like that. But I don't want people to think that I went on a quote unquote diet. But I
Yeah.
noticed some things just kind of naturally happened when I'm like, oh, I got to walk for an hour and 15 minutes. Do I really want to eat this? That
Yes.
was a nice little bonus. So it's not just the walking. I want to make sure people hear that.
Yes, it is true that you cannot out exercise a bad diet. I mean, you can't walk an hour and 15 minutes a day and still just eat crap all the time. But I also believe it is true that as you start to do more physical activity, the less you want to eat those things. I think when you're actively exercising and you're doing it on a regular basis and you have a routine, you actually make better choices because you think, oh, like I just put all this work in. I don't want to sabotage the work I've done by eating, fries and burgers every day. I have to do better for myself. And you're also right. You don't have to be the sweaty person, sweat pouring from your body about to die. You are proof that just putting one foot in front of the other one and taking the steps and going for the walk and getting your heart rate up even small amounts has cardiovascular benefits. So yeah,
Yeah.
do it. Just move.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I was surprised about is, I really believed everything that I saw, right? Which is where you have to like stretch, you have to wear special clothes, you have to be huffing and puffing. And I'm really glad that you have busted that myth because the 20-minute walk is really going to help. So this flabbergasted me. It's absolutely true. A brisk 20-minute walk each day could be enough to cut your risk of early death, even if you are obese, according to new research that was just published on January 14th of this year. They studied more than 334,000 European men and women and found that twice as many deaths may be attributed to lack of physical exercise as to obesity. So it's the lack of exercise in our modern culture. People think, oh, well, obesity is killing people. Obesity is killing people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, if you're morbidly obese or you have weight issues, that you shouldn't look into that. But I am saying that lack of exercise is a contributing factor. And just getting a brisk 20-minute walk a day, no matter what size you are, no matter what you look like, can cut your rate of death in half, according to this study. And I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
And again, you also get all these other benefits, which is you have more energy, etc. I like having more energy, especially as a dude who's pushing 50. I want as much energy as I can because remember that part about the little influencers, making air quotes, who are younger? All of my influencer friends, they're in their 20s and 30s. And I'm a good 20 years older than them, and I want to hang with them.
Yes.
And while they do make fun of me for being older, they still invite me places because I'm not holding them back. And that's important to my lifestyle.
You know, what that brought to my mind is the fact that when you have bipolar disorder, so often the medicine makes you feel sluggish, or the medicine has caused you to put on a little weight, or the medicine has interfered with your libido. Taking that walk every day can really help, like you said, with your energy. As I'm sitting here listening to us talk about this topic, I'm actually thinking I should probably be more pointed in my recommendation to people to exercise. And I haven't been because, I hate it myself. So
Dr. Nicole.
I,
Dr. Nicole.
I know. I'm a terrible doctor. I know.
Listen, the people around me are flabbergasted because, again, remember my grandfather? I love my grandfather. I loved him so much. I'm still grieving his death 2 years later. Right? He was one of my favorite people in the whole world, and he could not convince me to walk. I mean, I did for a little bit in high school when I was really bored, but as soon as I had other options, I abandoned that walking like nothing and never, ever, 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 ever walked again. I'm a little disappointed that he's not around to see this because, well, frankly, it might kill him. I just, it's that shocking. But I want to talk about, some other things that I didn't expect. People have been really proud of me, and not like the fake proud, right? Not like the, oh, that's nice, but more like the, oh, wow. And then, I've shown them
Because
like,
that's impressive.
yeah, and I show them. I want to point everybody to their phones real quick. Most of us have one, and on both Android and Apple phones, there is a free app. Start off with the free app. That way, because you're just comparing you to you, right? You're just tracking your daily stuff, and it'll give you some basic measurements. How many steps a day? Now you got to carry your phone to get those steps. So I have developed this phrase like, oh, those steps didn't count. I didn't have my phone in my pocket. But try to let that go. The next thing is it tracks your average walking pace when you're on your walk. It does track your route, so you can like show on a little graph where you rode. And people are doing fun things like writing things. They use their GPS to write like, "Hi, honey, I love my wife," and so it shows up on the little graph. And I think that's kind of cute and funny. I've never done anything like that, but the nice thing about having this app is you can show people. So when you show them, hey, here's the average number of steps I'm getting, and I pull up my 90 day, and I'm currently averaging about 10,200 steps a day, and people are like, wow, Gabe, that's incredible.
It is incredible. I mean, that is very impressive. And it sounds like for you, that is motivating and it helps you. But I think there are people out there that's not a motivation for them. People get obsessed with what I hear Apple people talking about closing the rings. I guess that's a thing. Is that a
Closing
thing?
the
Is that a
rings.
thing? Is that a
Yes,
thing?
yeah, it is a thing on. I'm an Android person.
I am too. So that's why I'm like, is that a thing?
I've never heard it be called closing the rings, but there's a
Yeah.
little heart, and as you
Yes.
as you reach your goal, the heart
Yes.
fills in,
Yes.
and when you complete your goal, the heart connects, and then it puts up little graffiti or not graffiti,
Yes.
confetti,
Yes.
and it's just dancing for you, and it's
Yeah.
yay!
That's hilarious. But people talk about closing the rings or on your Android, closing the heart, right?
Yep.
But for some people, that's even more stressful because then if they don't close the rings one day or they hit a rough patch at work and have to work late or the kids have something and they can't close the rings, then their immediate thought is, I see, I failed. I failed. I might as well just go back to not walking at all. You have to know where you are in the motivation process, what motivates you, what doesn't, what makes you worse, what makes you better. You have to figure those things out for yourself because everyone won't get benefit out of closing the rings or completing the heart. And then they feel something very negative about themselves on the inside. So we do have to be careful for some folks about how helpful that can be.
I'm really glad that you brought that up as we near the end of the episode. So, first off, whenever you're setting your goals, set reasonable ones. As we talked about earlier, if it's just 10 minutes a day for the first 30 days, do it because 10 minutes a day is vast, vast, vast improvement. Two, remember, don't let perfection get in the way of progress. Here's the reality. If you only quote, close the rings, fill in the heart, or meet the goal 1/3 of the time, that is 1/3 of the time that you are meeting your goals, whereas before you didn't even have goals. So it's super important to really reframe that.
30% is better than 0%.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Don't fall into this trap where you're focusing on the times that you didn't hit the goal. And I'll be the first to admit, this was a problem for me in the beginning. I'm really glad that you brought it up. Whenever I would miss the goal, I would feel badly. I would feel very badly. It took some time to get over it. So here's a little pro tip for you. What a lot of people do, and what a lot of this research is based on, is actually walking 5 of 7 days. They say every day, but a lot of the research involves a 2 day rest break. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's very healthy. Now, what I did is instead of, walking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and taking the weekends off, I make it a goal to walk every single day because I know that there will probably be at least one day, if not 2 days, that because of work, because of requirements, etc., I won't make the walk. So instead of just deciding that, oh, I'm not going to walk today because it's my rest day, I actually get the rest days on the days that I can't walk. Now, sometimes that means that I'll get like a pretty impressive pattern going. I think my streak is 22 days in a row that I went for a walk. I was so proud of that streak, I actually went for a walk on Thanksgiving Day. But eventually it did get broken. Eventually I was it got broken a couple of days later, actually, because I was with my family. There was a big game on, there was lots of parties. We were all hanging out and I didn't get on the walk. So that ended the streak, but that's okay. That's okay. Some days you won't be able to do it. And listen, we're all going to get sick. We're all going to get busy. The important thing is to get right back up on it.
Gabe, the important thing is that we don't give up. I am just as guilty of this, and I do not live with bipolar disorder. Working out is tough, it's hard. It is so easy to skip a day or not be able to work out a day. I ride a stationary bike, a very popular stationary bike on the
Does
market.
it start with a P?
It
You can
does.
tell you got that doctor money.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. And there are these challenges that you sign up for, and the options are like 4 rides a week, 3 rides a week. And then there's a time crunch thing, which is shorter rides, 3 days a week. I know that for me, I need to do the shorter rides and I need to be okay with the fact that I'm not doing what the other people are doing. I need to know that I don't have to work out 7 days a week because realistically, with my schedule in my life, it probably would not happen and I would be so defeated. So, this happens for all of us who don't necessarily enjoy the working out, or for all of us who are busy and still trying to adopt this lifestyle. So, do not stop.
Here's the bottom line, Dr. Nicole. I really want people to remember not to let perfection get in the way of progress. Be like Nike and just do it. And you don't even have to own Nikes. Doc Martens will absolutely work. The next thing is I remember, I have binge eating disorder along with bipolar disorder. We've talked about it a little bit on this show. And I remember I was going to a binge eating support group. And one of the things that they said is that it's so easy to get derailed. You find yourself, standing in front of your coworker's desk. They've got that little candy drawer. You have sworn off sugar. You're only going to eat vegetables. Maybe you're on a liquid diet and you reach in and you pull out that little fun size candy bar. You instinctively open the wrapper and you pop it in your mouth. And you ate it. And what many people then do is use that to give themselves permission to quit. They say the whole day is ruined. And what this woman said is, listen, this is the literal equivalent of, you ever been at the grocery store and you see the grapes or you see the cherries or you see the fruit display and you pluck one off and you eat it. Now you didn't pay for it, so you stole it. So then you use as an excuse to rob a bank. Nobody would think that way. It's not okay to sample the fruit at the grocery store. That is in fact stealing. Just because
Gabe,
they look the other way doesn't mean it's okay.
I think that's a terrible analogy, but go
You
ahead.
think it's a terrible? You come up with the analogies then. You got a better one?
I think that eating a random dirty grape or cherry in the grocery store is not the gateway to robbing a bank. I mean,
Right. And you are absolutely right. And eating a fun size candy bar or missing your goals for the day is not the gateway to quitting what you're doing, because what you're doing is going to work and what you're doing is good and what you're doing you should be proud of. Nobody eats the grape or the cherry and
yes,
robs a bank.
but you should not be proud. You should not be proud of eating that little dirty cherry or dirty grape at the grocery store. That's why it's a terrible analogy. Both things are bad, and we don't like either, but both are bad. Like,
Well, but
no.
in some people's mind, missing that goal is bad. And that's what I'm trying to explain to people. It's not bad, it's just not ideal.
Okay.
And I think that's a very, very big difference. If we look at it as, hey, I missed my goal today, that's not ideal. I will work harder to meet it tomorrow. I think that's a healthy reframe and that's healthy thinking. Saying, I'm a failure. I didn't hit my goal. I'm not going to bother anymore. I can do whatever I want. I'm never walking again. This whole thing is stupid and Gabe's a moron. I don't think that's healthy behavior.
No,
And
it's not.
what's worse is I would actually much rather you think that I'm the moron. We internalize this stuff, and that's
Yeah.
not healthy for people with bipolar disorder, and I don't want you to do it.
No, it's not. But I also don't want you eating dirty grapes and cherries in the grocery store. All right.
No dirty grapes and cherries, everybody.
I don't want you doing that either.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. My name is Gabe Howard, and I need some favors from you. First, wherever you downloaded this episode, please follow or subscribe to the show. It is absolutely free. And do me a favor, recommend the show to everybody you know. Sharing the show is how we grow. Remember, you have support groups, emails, text messages, social media. This episode belongs on social media. All right, everybody, I'm an award-winning public speaker and I could be available for your next event. Invite me. I'd love to show up. I might even bring Dr. Nicole if you ask nicely. I also wrote the book, Mental Illness is an Asshole and Other Observations, which you can buy on Amazon, but you don't want to. What you want to do is go to my website and get a signed copy with some free swag. And that website is gabehoward.com. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram at Ask a Bipolar. There's even clips of this show.
And I'm Dr. Nicole Washington. You can find me on all social media platforms at Dr. Nicole Psych.
And we will see everybody next time on the Inside Bipolar podcast.
You've been listening to Inside Bipolar from Healthline Media and PsychCentral.com. Have feedback for the show? Email us at show@psychcentral.com. Previous episodes can be found at psychcentral.com/IBP or on your favorite podcast player. Thank you for listening.